Roma is now on Netflix, and after much a buzz and so many critics calling it one of the best movies of the year, I finally decided to check it out. I also decided to do the video review in the black and white format as Alfonso Cuaron has made the movie. And this film is about a maid named Cleo who works for the Antonio family in Mexico City in Roma. And this is about 1 year in her life, which is when Mexico City is going through crazy turmoil. The social political relations are getting worse by the day. There's protests on the streets, people are dying. And it's about her life with this family, which is going through the toughest of times, and she's trying to get by as much as possible, and we see this through her eyes. I was very excited for this movie. Of course, I love this director. He's made some amazing movies: Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Gravity, Children of Men. And so his repertoire is such that I'm expecting nothing but an amazing movie here. And this might be his best movie to date. It could be. It might also be the movie that for some people would be his worst movie to date. The thing about a film like Roma is that there's two schools of thought. You can either be the one person who says, this is great, this is exactly what it needs to be, and it tells a beautiful, natural story. For some people, this could be an artsy, fartsy, pretentious movie where they just wanted to make it look cool and wanted to waste the time of the viewer. There are people like that. If you go online on Twitter right now, you'll find a lot of people like that. But I found myself mesmerized in Cleo's story, and I found myself really rooting for her as a character. And even though it's a very simple story, it's something very natural, it's told in a way that I really appreciated the storytelling on display. It didn't feel forced. No scene felt out of place. In fact, in terms of placing, no scene in this movie feels like it's a waste. It's one of the most perfectly placed movies I've ever seen. No scene belongs in the deleted scenes area or in a cut room somewhere. It's perfect. It all fits. And the performance given by the main actress in this movie, whose name is kind of slipping right now, and I'm very sorry about that. I'm going to remember it right after I'm done with this review. She gives one of the finest performances of the year, a very brutal human performance. Her character goes through so much in this movie, and she's trying to do so much to just keep going, despite how bad things are getting at certain points, that it's honestly kind of amazing. I knew nothing about the film going in, so I had no idea what was going to happen, and I was really surprised. Her relationship with the other characters as well, the kids in this family and the wife of the family, is very beautifully handled. And whenever the interactions do get heated between her and other characters, it's also not just because it's heated for the sake of being heated. There is a character sort of motivation behind it, and each character is given an arc, and each arc is completed by the end of the movie. You get a proper beginning, middle, and an end for each character, even if the arc is of someone who is not the best person in the world. But really, this film succeeds in some of its more technical aspects: the cinematography, the sound design, which is some of the best I've ever heard in my life. You feel like you're in Roma. You feel like you're in Mexico City. There's a scene, I'm not going to spoil it, but one very big scene happens in the movie. You think you're in the middle of that scene. It's kind of terrifying. And I was amazed at how authentically it was pulled off. It was like straight out of a documentary almost. It's kind of amazing stuff. There's a great opening shot where you see Cleo wiping the floors. She's mopping up the floors and cleaning up dog poop. And the sound used of the soapy water coming in, and you have the shot where the water is reflecting the sky above, and you can see a plane flying by. It's phenomenal stuff. The performances actually from everybody were really great. It's also written well. Again, like I said, it's a movie where I kind of say that nothing really happens, but at the same time a lot happens in these characters' lives. It's this one crazy year, 1970. And despite that, it tells the story which you're engaged in throughout. It never loses your attention. It never loses your focus. It's also very heart-wrenching. It's also really funny. There's a great amount of humor to it in her interactions with the children. There's nice back and forth in that regard. One of the youngest kids, for instance, there's great dialogue between the two of them. There's a wonderful scene in the beginning where he's playing around and he gets killed by his brother, and he's all upset about it, and he walks away. Later on, the younger brother, the youngest sibling, who's walking over all upset, and Cleo looks to him and says, "What happened to you?" And he says, "I can't talk, I'm dead." He says, "Resurrect yourself." And he says, "No, I'm not, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna stay dead." And then she lies down next to him and he says, "What are you doing?" He's like, You got to tell me what you're doing." And she says, "I can't. I'm dead." And he says, "Then resurrect yourself." She's like, "No. Hey, I kind of like being dead." It's a nice little moment that's in the movie, and the movie has enough time for little things like that throughout. And it never loses sight of that. It never becomes unrealistic. It never becomes silly. It's very human, and I keep coming back to that word, human. It's important in even in films like this, even if you're somebody who's watching it and there's like nothing to it in a sense, the kind of sense that it has in terms of keeping you engaged. Like sometimes movies just have to be like this, where they just give you a simple story without having to be overly complicated. Not everything has to be a magnum opus. It's just a person's life who is looking at other people's lives, and it's just brilliantly executed in that sense. Cuaron's direction in this is absolutely magnificent. He's also done a lot of work in terms of, he's the one who shot the movie as well, and he has some brilliant one-take sequences in this film. There's a spectacular sequence on a beach. I'm not going to say any more, but brilliant stuff. Some of the best filmmaking of the year. This film is a marvel. This is the kind of thing that is, I feel like this was a passion project on his end. It's a beautiful movie. It's wonderful to behold. It's one of the best movies of the year, and it's a great way to round off the year. If there are no more reviews for the rest of the year, there may be one more. This is the perfect way to end 2018. Roma is, in my opinion, kind of a masterpiece. You guys got to check this out. I'm going to give Roma a 10 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Now, I might do one last review for The Favorite, which I do plan on seeing tomorrow. Hopefully, if I don't get to see it, oh well. But if I do, that'll be the last review of 2018, and then I'm going to give you the top 10 list, which is pretty much already done at this point. So look forward to that very soon, and then the worst list, which is going to be a lot of fun too. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.